Joining me now, Democratic Congressman Adam Smith, ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee. Thank you for joining us. I want to first get your reaction to the president's latest threat.
Look, it is just completely disgusting and not something any president should ever say. And if Republicans are concerned about that, they should be focused on stopping Donald Trump. I mean, look, whether he does it or not, the language he has used, the way he has approached this conflict, his complete lack of concern for all of the costs of the war, the people being killed, the wild and insulting rhetoric he is using, it has done such damage to the United States of America, to our place in the world. There was the old saying about how America first should never mean America alone. I never believed that. But this is Trump with America alone, and America just, morally bankrupt at this point. Those words have done, I think, as much damage to the United States' reputation in the world as anything that's happened, since the end of World War II. I can't even remember what. So regardless of what happens at this point, what Trump has done to date has done an enormous amount of damage. It would certainly make it vastly worse if he carries out any part of that threat. But it is time for Congress to figure out every day, how can we rein in Trump's power? He is clearly unfit to lead this country.
Well, as you know, for a long time, Republicans have not stood up to the president because he had so much power within the party. But with the MAGA base divided, his popularity, even among Republican voters, fading, do you sense in conversations that the war, on top of the economy and the impact the war is having on the economy, is maybe driving some Republicans to oppose what he's doing?
Maybe some. I mean, the most hope we can have is with the voters rejecting the Republican Party at the polls. But look, he has the power they gave him. All right. You go back to right after January 6th, there was a clear opportunity for Republicans in Congress to remove Donald Trump from the political world in America. They chose not to. So the Republican Party has a lot of responsibility for this. We can hope that they change their mind and see how terrible this has been on so many levels. I can't say that I'm optimistic. I think we're going to have to go straight to the voters to hold the Republicans accountable who have allowed Donald Trump to do all the damage that he has done.
If the U.S. Largely could decimate a country in a matter of hours, and certainly even before this threat, that's what Donald Trump suggested yesterday in the Q&A with reporters. What's next? Is there any actual long-term goal, any strategy or plan? He kind of touched on the possibility of rebuilding the country, remaking the country. What's the plan?
Well, first of all, this is part of it that hasn't been focused on, because rightly we've been focused on the pure evil and insanity of what Trump has been saying. But no, we don't have the power to destroy a civilization in 4 hours. Certainly not if we're not going to use nuclear weapons, which I sincerely hope that's not what Trump has in mind. And he hasn't indicated that he does. So no, you can bomb a lot of stuff and not really completely destroy a country or even destroy their capability. And we've seen that. Keep in mind, we've been bombing them for 5.5 weeks now, have significantly degraded their military capability, but they still have missiles. They still have drones. They are still able to attack, shoot down 2 of our airplanes, still drop missiles into Israel and surrounding countries. So no, you can't destroy a civilization. You can't even destroy a country's military capability with a 4-hour bombing campaign. So the cluelessness of what he thinks this is going to accomplish militarily is another problem. Even if he launches this 4-hour campaign, at the end of it, a lot more people, a lot more civilians will be dead, but Iran will still be standing. Iran will still have the power to threaten the Strait of Hormuz. It won't even achieve a strategic objective, the strategic objective that Mike Lawler alluded to. Wouldn't it be great if the Iranian regime was gone? Sure, it would, but a rational leader would think, okay, A, can you accomplish that? And B, what is the cost? The blissful dismissal of the cost by Trump and all of these Republican sycophants who are letting him go forward, killing thousands of civilians, the devastation of the global economy, as if that's irrelevant if the goal is to eliminate the Iranian regime. I mean, we've had these discussions for 15 years with a bunch of different presidents, a bunch of different Congresses, and a bunch of different secretaries of defense. We've all made rational decisions about what we can do. And now the Republicans have decided they're not going to be rational anymore. They're going to let Trump be as crazy as he wants to be, and they're not even going to think about the cost. And that is disgusting on a level that has shocked even me as much as I've seen during my time in Congress. This is as shocking and as appalling as anything I have witnessed.
So we had one of our guests, I don't know if you heard the previous segment, say that he's really concerned about what might happen at 8 o'clock tonight. Now, defense officials tell Politico the Pentagon is expanding a list of Iranian energy sites to target, which would include sites that provide power to both civilians and the military as a workaround against war crimes. So a two-part question here. How worried are you about 8 o'clock tonight? And do you buy the idea that if they hit these dual-purpose facilities, that it's not a war crime?
Yeah, I'm deeply worried about it. I basically share everything that your previous panel said. I mean, this is an unprecedented place for the United States to have gone, as I've described already in some of my earlier answers to your questions. Look, in certain circumstances, if there's a power grid that is directly powering a missile construction site, if there's a bridge that is leading to a military base, yes, those can be military targets. It's a fairly limited set that you can find in that area, but that's not what Trump has said. That's been sort of, again, the dishonesty of the Republican sycophants in Congress who want to say, oh, come on, you can hit bridges, you can hit power plants because they're connected to the military, which theoretically is true, but that is not what the lunatic in chief has been saying. He has made it very clear that his plan has nothing to do with military targets. He wants to erase a civilization and punish the entire population of Iran. He has not said, I'm going to hit their power plants because that is what enables their missile capability. He has, as some sort of homicidal psychopath, just talked about all that he wants to blow up and kill. So that's what we should focus on. Look, if they were talking about some of these things being directly linked to military targets, that would be a different and more complicated conversation. But that's not what Trump is saying. And the willful ignorance of people like Mike Lawler to just act like they're not hearing what this idiot is saying. Come on, it's what he's over and over and over and over again. He's saying that he wants to kill civilians and blow up civilian targets. And that should be condemned and stopped by the military, too. This is why Mark Kelly and all those members of Congress went on TV to say, you don't have to follow illegal orders. In fact, you're not supposed to follow illegal orders for moments like this.
Congressman Adam Smith, thank you so much for your time.